Lately one word keeps appearing everywhere. In political debates, in news headlines, even in movies and TV shows. A euro o woke. A euro. Some people say it represents progress. Others say a euro is being pushed too far. But something interesting is starting to happen. After years of growing influence, the reaction against it seems to be getting stronger. So the real question is no longer what woke means. The real question is this: is woke culture still growing a euro? Or are we starting to see the beginning of a backlash? For most people, the word a euro appeared almost overnight. A few years ago it was rarely part of everyday conversation. Today it shows up everywhere in political debates, media discussions, and endless arguments online. But the word didn't start the way people use it now. Originally, a euro simply meant being aware of social injustice. In particular, injustice connected to race and discrimination. The idea was simple: stay awake to problems that society sometimes prefers to ignore. For many people, that message made sense. Societies change over time. Groups that were once invisible slowly become part of the conversation. Representation in media grows. Public awareness expands. For supporters, that shift was not radical. It was simply progress. But something interesting happened as the idea moved into the mainstream. What began as social awareness gradually started appearing in places where activism had rarely played a role before. Advertising campaigns began using the language of social justice. Companies started presenting themselves as champions of social change. Streaming platforms and film studios began emphasizing representation more openly in their projects. For some viewers, this was long overdue. For others, it felt different. Critics started asking whether companies were truly committed to these values or whether they were simply responding to cultural trends that were gaining attention online. Because the moment corporations join a cultural movement, the dynamics change. Activism and marketing begin to overlap. A message that once belonged to grassroots movements suddenly becomes part of branding strategies and promotional campaigns. And when that happens, the motivations become harder to read. Are companies genuinely supporting social change? Or are they simply adapting to what they believe audiences want to hear? Social media accelerated this transformation even further. Ideas spread faster than ever. Debates grew louder. Every controversy turned into a global conversation within hours. In that environment, the meaning of a euro began to expand. What once described awareness of injustice slowly became something broader: a label connected to culture, identity, language, entertainment, and politics. And the bigger the concept became, the more divided opinions started to grow. Supporters saw long overdue change. Critics saw ideology entering everyday life. And once a cultural idea reaches that level of visibility, it rarely stays neutral for long. Once those ideas entered mainstream culture, entertainment was never going to stay outside the debate. Film and television have always reflected social changes. Every decade leaves its mark on the stories being told. Different generations bring different values, different priorities, and different expectations about what should appear on screen. Over the past several years, that shift became much more visible. Streaming platforms and major studios began placing stronger emphasis on diversity and representation. Characters who had once been rare in leading roles started appearing much more frequently. New voices entered writers' rooms. Different perspectives became part of mainstream storytelling. Supporters saw this as a natural correction. For decades, many groups had simply not been represented in popular media. Expanding representation, they argued, was not political. It was simply making the screen reflect the real world more accurately. But not everyone experienced the change in the same way. Some viewers began to feel that entertainment was becoming more focused on messaging than storytelling. They argued that certain projects seemed designed to send a statement first and tell a story second. This is where the debate started to grow louder. Were audiences rejecting representation itself? Or were they reacting to the way it was sometimes delivered? Because representation and storytelling do not always move in the same direction. When they work together, audiences often barely notice the shift. But when the balance feels forced, viewers tend to react quickly. And in the age of social media, reactions spread fast. A single casting decision can trigger thousands of comments within hours. A controversial scene can dominate headlines for days. Film reviews and audience reactions begin to mix with political arguments and cultural debates. Suddenly, a movie is no longer just a movie. It becomes part of a larger cultural conversation. Streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney, and others found themselves directly in the middle of this shift. Some projects received praise for expanding representation. Others faced criticism for what audiences described as heavy-handed messaging. The result was a cycle that became familiar. A new show appears. Part of the audience celebrates it. Another part reacts strongly against it. Media outlets report the conflict. Social networks amplify the arguments. And the debate grows even larger. At that point, the discussion often stops being about the film itself. It becomes about the culture behind it. And that raises an important question. Is entertainment simply reflecting social change a euro? Or is it becoming one of the main battlegrounds where the change is being fought? What do you think? As the debate around culture and entertainment grew louder, another force began pushing it even further. Media. Not just traditional media, but the entire ecosystem of news websites, social platforms, and algorithm-driven feeds that shape what people see every day. Because modern media doesn't only report cultural conflict. It often amplifies it. Stories that generate strong reactions travel faster. Headlines that trigger emotion get more clicks. Controversial debates keep audiences watching longer. And in that environment, cultural disagreements can quickly turn into full-scale public battles. A casting choice becomes a national debate. A scene from a television show turns into a viral argument. A comment from a public figure spreads across thousands of posts within hours. The result is a feedback loop. Media highlights conflict. Social networks spread it. People react emotionally. And the conflict becomes even bigger. In that process, the meaning of euro began shifting again. For some, it still represents awareness and social progress. For others, the word has become a symbol of cultural pressure or ideological influence. But here is where things get complicated. Because the debate itself has also become extremely profitable. Outrage attracts attention. Attention generates traffic. Traffic generates revenue. So the question becomes harder to answer. Are we witnessing a genuine cultural shift happening in society? Or are media systems amplifying the loudest conflicts because conflict keeps audiences engaged? And if controversy keeps people watching the euro, who actually benefits from keeping the culture war alive? As the debate around cultura kept spreading through media and entertainment, it didn't take long before politics entered the conversation as well. In fact, the word quickly became a powerful political tool. Because culture is something everyone understands. Economic policy can feel distant. International politics can seem complicated. But culture touches everyday life, identity, values, the way people see the world around them. And when political debates move into cultural territory, reactions become much stronger. Over the last few years, the word a euro started appearing more and more often in political speeches, campaign messages, and television debates. Some politicians describe it as a sign of social progress. Others warn that it represents an ideology spreading through institutions, education, and media. The same word euro, but two very different interpretations. And that is exactly what makes it politically useful. Because a word that means different things to different people can be used to mobilize very different audiences. Supporters frame it as empathy, awareness, and inclusion. Critics frame it as pressure, censorship, or cultural overreach. Both sides are talking about the same term, yet they describe completely different realities. Once politics enters a cultural debate, the tone usually changes. Arguments become sharper. Positions become more rigid. And compromise becomes harder to imagine. But there is another reason why the topic spreads so easily in politics. Cultural issues are easy to turn into simple messages. A short phrase in a speech. A headline in a news article. A short clip that spreads quickly across social media. Within hours, millions of people can see the same argument and begin reacting to it. Supporters share it. Critics push back. Media outlets report on the reactions. And the debate becomes even larger. At that point, the discussion often stops being about a specific policy. Instead, it becomes part of a much bigger cultural conflict. But that raises an important question. Are we witnessing a genuine ideological divide inside Société Euro? Or has the word a euro simply become a political shortcut used to rally voters? I am curious what you think. So after all these debates, reactions, and political battles, we return to the question that started this conversation. What actually happens next? Because cultural movements rarely stay the same forever. Some ideas grow stronger and slowly become part of everyday life. Over time, they stop being controversial and simply turn into the new normal. Other ideas face resistance. Public opinion shifts. What once felt dominant slowly loses momentum as people begin pushing back. Right now, the debate around a euro seems to sit somewhere between those two possibilities. In some areas, the influence of these ideas is still expanding. Conversations about representation, identity, and social awareness continue to shape media, education, and public discussion. But in other areas, something different seems to be happening. Some companies appear more cautious than they were a few years ago. Studios talk more often about focusing on storytelling rather than messaging. Certain projects that once might have moved forward easily now receive more scrutiny. Whether that shift is real or temporary is still unclear. Because cultural trends rarely move in a straight line. They rise, face resistance, adapt, and sometimes return in new forms. And that may be exactly what we are witnessing now. Not necessarily the end of a euro, but a transformation. The early phase was driven by rapid change and strong visibility. The next phase may look different, a euro quieter, more gradual, and less confrontational. Or the backlash could continue growing, turning the issue into an even larger cultural and political divide. At this point, both possibilities remain open. Which brings us back to the central question. Are we watching a cultural movement that will eventually settle into the mainstream? Or are we seeing the beginning of a wider shift away from it? What do you think?